everybody, this is Alex from Historic Adventures of Alex. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like this. Well, let's just say I have a very fond history with the War of 1812 and all of its aspects. And for this coming week, we're going to make a video on the War of 1812, its causes, and the battles that ensued in the battle, and who was the victor in the end of the War of 1812. And you're probably wondering, like, why am I dressed like this for this video? Well, let's just say I'm trying to show you today what all the men and women had to fight in. So this right here is a shako, and it is a U.S. Marine infantry shako. So you can tell right now all of its designs and cultures and what the people would have been wearing during the battles of the War of 1812, particularly at sea, on land, and just how very, very, very impactful it would have been during the battles of the War of 1812. So you can see right now I'm in the U.S. Marine uniform and all of its aspects, and you can just imagine all of the leather, the clothing, the designs, and everything that was made during the War of 1812 that would have been used on the battlefields. So right now you have the cartridge box on this side. You would have had the leather or bayonet sling. Well, now I'm having a sword on it right now. But you can just see right now just all the clothing, all the designs, and just the amount of heat that would have been placed on these soldiers during the war. And you can see right now just the sling and everything else, and just how very unique a style this would have been during the War of 1812. And at the moment, you realize, just the amount of effort many of these people would have had and the sacrifices that would have been made during the battles. And just, it's a very, very impactful and moving story about how a young nation like the United States defied the odds, and though they have had many flaws in the beginning of the War of 1812, they came out on top as a nation finally to be reckoned with against many great powers of the world back in the timeline. So the War of 1812. What was the War of 1812 about? Well, the War of 1812 was about a war between the United States and Great Britain. And what started the War of 1812 was many different issues, particularly impressment of seamen on the high seas, and the fact that the British were involved with many trade disputes with the Native Americans, and how that led to many people on the frontier to be annoyed and to be, sort of angry that they feel like they're being blocked by all this expansion and manifest destiny and all that kind of stuff. And when I say manifest destiny, I don't mean literally that it was, white people versus Indians. Or it's very, very, very a complex story on that topic. But it's a story that rarely people talk about in the textbooks, and just the amount of sacrifices a lot of people made trying to defend and fight against all odds, and how that led to many states even today have pride in their issue. Like for example, the Great Lakes, and how the areas like Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, all those areas were of conflict, and openly how this story ended up in the Deep South, particularly in New Orleans, where you have the infamous Battle of Chalmette. And this is what led and catapulted a young general by the name of Andrew Jackson to be led to the presidency, and how this battle really affected many people to have this national pride. And it ultimately was a successful campaign. And though the Americans had some difficulty, in the end it was a war that led America to become something greater. And it's something that I feel like is rarely discussed about, particularly about what was going on and how it was, accomplished through many difficult means, but in the end became a successful story for the young United States. So join me today as we go into battle and we fight the main conflict of the war. So thank you guys very much for joining me today. I will be awesome to show you all the great stuff that happened during this war and how you guys can learn a thing or two about conflicts and the historic adventures on both the Great Lakes, the frontier, and most importantly, the Gulf Coast of the War of 1812. So thank you guys so much for this, and next videos is going to be about the causes and effects and who really won the War of 1812. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys so much for getting interested in this video, and I hope to see you guys soon. And by that time, I'm gonna put on my shako, put my Kentucky rifle. I'm gonna say, God bless you, enjoy the video.